Is everyone else good to go? Y'all got y'all got some tea in case you start coughing, or some halls in case you start coughing, or some lip chap in case you start chapping. Everyone ready?
Don't want any dry lips in the video. Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
they're
Look, they
recording
both just ran to get their chapstick.
no one wants dry lips on the video.
You can't have dry lips on camera, man. You cannot.
All
What's going on, champions? Welcome to another episode of the Perspective Podcast. If you don't know already, I am Kwame Osei,
My name is Dylan Elias.
And I'm Izzy Castillo.
and this is where we tune the heart of mentorship. And if you don't know, now you know. And I just messed that up, and I'm going to keep going because this is what I do. So sit down, all right? Get your notepad out, get your pen out, and take some notes. And if you like what we've been talking about in the past, you know, we really love this podcast. We love what we've been doing, and we want to share it with the world. So please turn on your notifications, like, subscribe, and share. Let's go, Izzy. Introduce our guest today.
Okay, these two guests are special to me because I somehow in our lives we crossed paths and it was just like magic happened. So these two are two fearless leaders we have in our when we were in Fort McMurray, and they're still doing it all around different communities. But these two individuals are really representations of when we say be the change you want to see in the world. That's what they're doing. So we wanted to bring them on because I believe they're champions of a lot of different matters in the world, and they continue to do things just out of their own heart. And I think when we talk about heart of mentoring and using like living through your heart, these two individuals do that, and you really see their passion. You really hear. I think we're going to learn a lot today. I'm wanting to hear some of the stuff you guys are doing out there with your being an advocate. So we got Jinan and Majd, who are brother and sister ruling the world together, and the little mini siblings are coming up soon. So maybe in 20 years we'll have them too, the twins and the other one, three of them, right?
How old are the twins?
They're 9.
Whoa.
Well, they're turning 9.
Yeah,
They're getting
coming
old.
Oh, wait, what did you
Are
say?
they
There's
boy-
one more? There's
Are
another
they
one?
boys, girls, what?
So the twins are a boy and a girl. So
boy and a
Rizan and Yazan, and then there's Leanne, who just turned 11. Wait, did she just turn
Oh.
10 or 11?
Just turned 10.
Okay, she's 15. I can't even tell.
Fact check.
Yeah.
Madge has the birthdays in place and you have the gifts in place. You guys. Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question, and because we never had two guests before, actually, this is our first time having two at the same time. I'm gonna want to ask you guys this question. So a lot of people don't know that you came to Canada when you were young, and which is a huge experience for a lot of people who are coming from different countries into Canada and experience a whole different way of living. So as people, when you were that young, but you're not young anymore, you're not babies anymore, you're young adults, seeing your experience coming from a different country and coming to Canada and seeing a whole nother perspective of life, what did you see? Like, how's that allowed you to see the importance of like community initiatives and talking on matters in the world that I know I see you guys keep doing every day, like educating people and spreading the word of what's happening in the world? So how has your experience being someone who came from a different country into Canada impacted you of like seeing those things as important to do in the community or talk about?
Maj, would you like to go first or should I?
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to start off by saying me and my sister immigrated here from Palestine, and as of recently, it's gaining more traction within the media, and people are talking about it more and more. But sadly, like this isn't anything recent. With our time living there, we've sort of seen what's going on firsthand, like traveling within the Middle East and just living there. So definitely being in that environment in itself gave I believe I can speak on me, and I know for a fact my sister as well. It gave us a lot of perspective into life somewhere else. So giving us that insight, we when we're such strong advocates now, it's because we have that experience. We're not only trying to advocate on people that we're trying to empathize with, but we can sort of relate to on a mutual level. So first of all, for me, it's having that insight. But then moving to Canada, what was an extreme change for me was the change in culture. And I believe that's what really motivates me current day to be the person I am, because there was such a shock in culture, and being kids are ruthless. They have no filter. They say what they say. I was in grade 2. I didn't know how to speak English. I still tell the story of how I was in gym class trying to remember what the word to washroom was, because my mom had told it to me in the morning and I needed to go, and I was just standing there, British Bulldog, and I didn't know how to ask, I need to go to the washroom. But like in instances, we were sitting in class, and we raise our hand differently in the Middle East, and we point our finger and we put our hand straight up. And I remember raising my hand one day, and like a bunch of people looking at me, and they're laughing, and you know, you get very isolated because people do it differently here, and they call you out on that. And I've had many instances like that growing up, of like bullying and being excluded and sort of isolated in that manner. So as I grew up and I matured and I became successful in my own ways, I became an athlete, I became academically successful. I found great friends. I was luckily enough in a position where I was cool. I was popular at this moment. And in that moment, I was always an observer, and I just noticed how other kids of different ethnicities, of even Caucasian ethnicities, were just being isolated for their differences, just as I was when I first came here. And that was the moment where I literally chose to be that movie idol that people look at, the cool kid who's nice, who stands up for people. And since then, I've always tried to live up to that expectation. I've always been grounded to my insight and my previous experiences, and I always try to stand for the people that I wish people stood for me.
I just have to make a comment. I really regret asking for peanut butter jelly sandwiches when my mom would pack us ethnic food. Like, come on, what? You know, and I think that's something that comes with just like, oh, what is that? And like now people are eating shawarma and hummus, and they're enjoying our ethnic food. When I was younger, I would hide it because I'm like, oh man, the seasonings, like it just smells like too strong. I have to blend in. And so like with Mej, what he was saying, I definitely can relate to that. There are moments where I had a huge identity crisis because I was like, who am I? Like when you're in classes and when you're, you know, with peers and classmates who don't even know your country exists. And when you tell them where you're from, they invalidate it. They say, don't you mean Pakistan? Or where is that? That's not even on the map. And so you start to think that, oh, it really isn't on the map, and you search for it and it's not there. And then you start to question, then who am I? Because I know where I come from. I'm from Palestine. I've seen it. I've lived it. So I come here and people are telling me it's not real. And, you know, it's not an actual country. And so there's that huge identity crisis, and feeling isolated and excluded. And you're just searching for yourself again because, you know, you come to this new country, you're learning a new language, you can't even pronounce P properly. So I'm out here, yeah, I'm from Palestine. And so it's not even like Palestine in Arabic, but in English, the way you say it, and with that thick Arab accent when you first move here, you're like, yeah, I'm from Palestine. Oh man, like you can't even say P right. And I'm like, okay, but we have a lot more letters in Arabic that I can say, okay? So it's like just a struggle even with that. And the reason I became an advocate is because my gym teacher actually was the first person in grade 8 that kind of allowed me to open up to the world a little bit more. She came up to me and she was like, hey, you should try out for the basketball team. And I was like, okay. Like when I was younger in Palestine, we used to put a basket on like a cement fence. and we used to throw a soccer ball on it. And that was our basketball. And so we'd run around with the soccer ball, like, oh yeah, we're playing basketball. And so I was like, okay, sure, I'll try out. I don't know the positions. I don't even know what the rules are. And so I went in, I was like, let's just do this. And then I got onto the team. I made it. And she goes, you're going to be point guard. And I was like, what? Sorry, what is a point guard? I have no idea what a point guard is. So I go home and I Google it. And everything that comes up relates to leader, coach on the court, the quarterback of the basketball game, and all these characteristics and these things related to leadership and being vocal and advocate and decision maker and all of that. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to succeed at being a point guard, I better have these qualities outside and on the court. And so I fostered that. I took on the role of a point guard in my life and on the basketball court. And so I started to build my communication skills, my leadership skills. I started to advocate and join different clubs at school and just take a part of as many initiatives as possible. Because I honestly, one of my goals was to be one of the best point guards I could be, be the best point guard that I can be. And so, to do that, I had to be that person as well, not just a facade on the court, a leader, a communicator, a team player, but then in real life, I didn't foster any of those skills. And like Mesh said, we saw it in real life. One time I got dropped off by the school bus, and I was walking to my grandparents' house. They live on this huge kind of like hill, and it's called Jabal al-Asad, so Lion's Mountain. And to get up there, the road and the street is very narrow, and buses cannot make it up. So the bus drops me off a little bit further away, and I was going to walk towards the mountain and then start walking up. And I'm walking in between the tall grass, and a tank just comes my way. A tank is approaching me, and I'm like, oh, great. What are we going to do now? So I duck. I duck in between the tall grass, and I start crawling. And I'm like, nah, they can't see me. Like, I'm clearly so good at this. There's no way. I'm camouflaged with my, with my school uniform in between tall grass. And the tank stops, and they point the cannon towards me. And I was like, this is it. All right, here we go. Grade 3, great. What a great life. See you later. And then all of a sudden, I don't even know. I closed my eyes, and they drove away, and I sprinted. And that's when I joined track and field in Palestine. I joined the track and field club after that experience because I had to work on my cardio, because I was not going to be in that situation again. And I was going to outrun that. And so, sports were a huge part of my life. They saved me in so many different ways, with building communication skills, with building those interpersonal skills, and they saved me literally from death. And so I advocate for physical activity, for women empowerment, for these initiatives, because I've had those personal experiences.
Yeah. And like, I think both you guys even just really bring out the point that you didn't see it, so you became it, because it's not just something that it's like, I only represent this and do these things and actions and all that kind of stuff in these settings. It's really much like, I grew up, had this experience, like Matt mentioned that you both have, and then wanting to make a difference of being yourself, but putting out there those things that weren't there for you. And I'm sure we're getting to the sports and stuff, because I know that's been a big part of you guys. That was probably the first thing I learned about you. But so I think that's something to keep on. That's probably where the root of both of you that I see. I know that you guys are really much, there's no just talk, there's really much action in the things that you do. And that's what I value about both of you guys.
Thank you, Izzy.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
That might be the wildest intro to track and field I have ever heard. Gee. I have a question for both of you guys. And I think this is a really important question in today's society, as I think everyone's kind of noticed over the last year. Things have become very polarized, or at least perceived to be very polarized. And I see a lot of good work being done on the left that's not really reaching the people it needs to because of this kind of shaming culture or canceling culture, or uh, get rid of everyone on your Facebook who doesn't agree with you type of culture. And I kind of brought this up to our last guest because she was also a big advocate. And in the world of, you know, COVID, we're online a lot, so that tends to just amplify those fringe voices on the left and right to make us seem maybe a little farther apart than we actually are, than we actually might be if we were back at school on a university campus, attending marches in person on a wide scale. So I guess my question to you is, with all the work you're doing, actually, I'm gonna tell a quick story. When I first moved to Fort McMurray, I was living with one of my buddies, and there was a little strip on the floor we lived on, and there was a couple of the guys that he worked with, and they would come over occasionally. We play like cards and stuff at night, and there was one guy who was he was from southern Alberta, and he was an open, like very open racist. And obviously I'd seen racist things, I'd seen systemic things, but I had never seen someone who was just straight up like, oh, black people don't deserve the same opportunities, while we're sitting there with one of my good friends. And I never like seen someone speak so openly about it, and I was so like thrown off by it. And one of the guy I was with, Izzy knows him, you remember Dean? And Dean's one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet, and he was able to handle this guy via comedy. And I watched over months this guy like change his mind about how he felt about people of different skin color. And then he started saying things like, well, and I talked to him, I'd be like, well, what about Dean? And he'd be like, well, no, not Dean. Dean's different. And then for me, that because I was pretty much like, yo, get this guy to the apartment. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing right now? And then I realized Dean had changed his mind about something, but he had to have that close communication. He had to be with him over time. He had to hear. And then that was a realization for me to kind of like, if you watch American History X, like it's that kind of thing. So I guess bringing that back to my question, like with all the good work you guys are doing, and I know you guys are having a lot of like chats and public forums and spreading awareness, how are you ensuring that you're not just creating an echo chamber of the people who already support you to hop into that and just hear it's like preaching to the choir, right? Like how are you getting to those voices that might not agree with you in a lot of the stuff you're talking about, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And as anybody who does programming, like Izzy, you should know this. Like as somebody who does camp programming, as somebody who puts on any type of event for the public, your main thing is how do you engage them? As an RA the past year, which is a resident advisor on campus, your job is to put stuff on for your residents. And even then, you're doing it for your residents, but it's still so hard to get your residents to come out. I think anybody who lived on campus in university knows the struggle. But I think you got to start somewhere. I always, like I'm currently the president of ESSA, which is our EDI, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Science Student Affiliation. And we're working with a committee, which I'm actually on as well, of the dean and a bunch of faculty members within the Faculty of Science. And we're trying to do change. We're looking at how we can incorporate EDI into campus, in the institution. And we've had a couple events and we see familiar faces, the same faces coming over. And I brought this up. I'm like, we had 60 people show, we had whatever people show, but like it's typically the same people. And I had a great reply, and it was the fact that we do got to start somewhere. Our goal audience is those people that need this education, that need to come out to learn what's going on. But that's not going to happen immediately. You got to build your audience slowly. You got to have that foundational base, and those people will just educate other people, and that's how you grow. And sadly, it's a difficult thing. People are really living in a world of ignorance. we all live in our own world, and I like to think that I expand. I love to search things that are devil's advocate. I love to search things against my point of view just to learn more. Because in the end, if people support something, they're supporting it for a reason. So what is that reason? But even then, with all that I look into, until this recent Palestinian like social media event that went viral, it really became a big trend on social media, and I became talking to a lot of people. And it wasn't until then that I realized the level of ignorance that is truly out there. Like, I was living in my world thinking that people believe what they believed, but they couldn't deny facts. But people were ignorant to the point that they would blindly deny like straight facts, and it's insane to see. But it's a very difficult question. You have to both have patience, but it's also not only on you. It gets to a point where it's not your job to educate people. It's their job to take their own initiative and educate themselves, to get out of their own bubble and be like, I might not know a lot about this, but I have friends who are Muslim. I want to learn what the hijab is, or whatever that topic may be. And there needs to be a push on that too, because it can't always be the minority groups trying to educate the majority.
Yeah, just to add on to that, that is a great question. And to be honest with you, I'll start with this. If somebody comes with to me, and the first thing essentially their question poses is for me to prove my existence, I can't talk to you right now. If you come to me denying my existence, and you want me to, and I'm standing right here in your face, and you want me to prove my existence, to prove why I deserve human rights, basic human rights, why Palestinian children don't deserve to be bombed, why the only COVID center doesn't deserve to be flattened, why schools don't deserve to be bombed. And your mindset is so blinded that, but Hamas, but this, but that, and you want me to prove my existence to you, I cannot talk to you right now. It is not my job. And it's labor. It is re-traumatizing for me to stand here and tell you, I'm right in front of you, I deserve human rights, correct? So why do other Palestinians not deserve it? Like, it's just like a tiring conversation, and it goes in circles. And to reach those people, like, yes, there are people on extremes, but I do not believe that fighting for human rights could even be called an extreme. I don't think that when you're defending human rights and you're going out, you're being vocal, you're screaming at the top of your lungs that people deserve human rights, it is not an extreme. What's an extreme are those that say and deny that you deserve those rights. And there are people in the middle. There are people that really do not understand, haven't been exposed to the correct information, haven't met people from those various regions. This comes back to the question of, how do people become ignorant? Well, they're sheltered. They're their own bubbles. They haven't met people from different regions. They haven't discussed and conversed with people who have different perspectives. And so they're kind of in this area, this gray area. And I have a lot of friends that were in that gray area because I was the only Palestinian in their life, the first Palestinian they've met. And so with the whole social media trends and all of that, I had a lot of questions. I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't know this was happening. Can you tell me about it? And yeah, it's not my job to educate every single person. But when I see somebody come to me and they put in the initiative and they're like, tell me more. I want to know more. I'm seeing a lot of different posts. I'm seeing posts on this side of the spectrum, but I'm seeing things on this side. What do I believe? How do I know it's right? Human rights laws trump all laws. If you see that these posts and information that you're exposed to is directly dismissing human rights laws, it's incorrect. There's no question about it. And I feel like some people, because they haven't seen it, they haven't lived it, they're not sure about that. And so I've taken the time to educate those people in that gray area. And those are the ones we actually need to focus on, not the ones who are on the extreme side of completely denying your existence and denying you deserve human rights and denying this and that. And Dylan, the comment you made me kind of chuckle there when you said, well, Dean is different. I've had somebody say that to me in a different way, where I had a friend who just moved to Ontario. You know, they lived in a small town for so long and they were never really exposed to different groups and populations. And I ran into them. I was like, oh, how'd you like it? How'd it go for you? Oh my gosh, the immigrant guys are so creepy. You know how many immigrant guys were like hitting on me, this and that? So creepy. And I was like, do you know how many white guys are creepy too? and then she's like, but immigrants, like, you know, and I was like, you do know I'm an immigrant. Oh, no, you're one of the good ones. That is even more dehumanizing. Like, I think they try to say it as like a compliment, like, oh, but you're one of the good ones. And it comes out as like just the complete opposite, like the complete opposite of their intention. And they don't even realize that. And so I think the people we need to reach are the ones who are in the gray area, who truly don't understand, who've been pulled in separate ways and don't know which way to go, not the ones who are completely on the opposite end. You can go in circles. And I've had conversations with people who completely disregard human rights, whether it's Black lives, whether it's Palestinian lives, whether it's Uyghur Muslim lives, whether it's Muslims in general, right? And so those ones, they need to take the initiative. You cannot change people's minds if they're set. If they're completely set in a certain direction, and that is the only way they see it, it is not your job to try to completely flip them on the other side. What you can do is show them the facts. You can expose them to reality. And if they, again, choose to be blind, and like Mej said, literally straight facts in front of you, numbers, statistics in front of you, and you still deny it, I don't have time to waste on you. And so with these initiatives that we put on, we are trying to reach those who are in that gray area. I'm not going to go argue with the most racist professor, Matt Royal, and try to change her ways and try to make her believe that our human rights are just as valuable, because it's not going to work. It's going to completely deplete my energy. It's going to dehumanize me. It's going to re-traumatize me. And she's going to walk away from that with no feelings at all, because like with no feelings of, well, maybe this and that. You know, some people do realize, some people do. I'm not saying you can't change it all, but a lot of our energy needs to be directed towards those gray areas for sure.
And hold on.
I think even just like
right.
you, Jinan, mentioning
What
like,
the? Oh, I lost my spot. Damn it.
well, I was just saying, like, even you mentioned the whole like this person's different, like that is so layered, because often people who, you might be the only colored person or ethnic person in your group, and you're already probably changing yourself up to be like, you know, fitting into that group that you're in, that's a little more of the majority. So even that's to be like, I have one person who isn't like that, so they're not, it's just, I give them a pass. And that's common. Even just Dylan, like you mentioning that, and then Jinan, like your story of that goes so deep.
And I just want to kind of revisit two important points I think you said. Was one, conserving your own energy and knowing which fights to fight, because that is, especially the work you guys are doing, it's a lot. And yeah, you're right. There's some people, and I do honestly believe everyone can be changed, but maybe that's more for like, that's what allyship's for. There's a lot of other people that you can spread the word to, and let the white people go deal with the ones who might be like out on the fringe. But I also like what you said about focusing on those gray in the middle people, because I do feel like there's way more people who are in the middle than it might appear on the internet. And I would just throw out that I don't know how much you guys have looked into like the social media algorithms, but this is something that I've really been focusing a lot on the last, I would say, month and a half. And it's just insane to the level that people's phones are different depending on who they are and what they're into. So I think a lot of it, yes, it might be ignorance, but I'm gonna go as far to say like it might not even be a ton of people's fault, because when you have a certain group of friends and you grow up in a certain way, your whole everything on your phone is just geared towards that one thing, and you might not have ever even seen or heard anything different. And I think those are the people you're talking about that you can reach, where it's like, shoot, I didn't even know that. So yeah, thanks for addressing that, guys, because I think that's the biggest thing right now with everything that's going on in the world, is like kind of breaking down these social media algorithms so everyone can realize like we're actually not so different and we're not so on opposing sides. And yeah, I think everyone, or most everyone, can agree on basic human rights. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dylan, I just wanted to add something really quick with the algorithm thing. That like the moment I realized that was when I was speaking to one of my friends. And she grew up here, she's white, and she says, you're the only person I've seen post about Palestine. Thank you for sharing it. And that moment was like mind blowing to me, because
yeah,
my Instagram is literally Uyghur Muslim genocide, Yemen, Syria, Palestine, Yemen, Syria, Lebanon. Like it's just like post after post after post after story. And then I'll come across one story about like,
how to change a tire.
yeah, like just how to change a tire. And I'm like, ooh, I'll watch this one for sure. But like you come across that, and then you don't realize that you have friends whose Instagram is nowhere near that algorithm, nowhere near that. Theirs is just completely normal. People on hikes, going for runs, people like with their dogs outside, and like people going for brunch. And then you're like the only person on their newsfeed that's speaking up on this. And so to them, it doesn't feel like such like a bombardment of information. To them, it's like, oh, I just came across one post. It can't be that big. And so that's the moment I realized like we sometimes are living literally, because of social media, in two different realities. And that's what polarizes people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to
Oh, Kwame, welcome to the podcast.
yeah, thanks. It's nice to finally chip in. And to add on to, I have a lot of stuff to say as I've been listening, but to add on to what you guys just said, here's the other part. Yes, they're on your friend list, but they are not even seeing your stuff. Majority of the people on your list are not even seeing your stuff, and sometimes your stuff is being hidden from them, like literally, like taken off of their stories. Let's say somebody shares some stuff, it's taken off their stories just so there could be a certain narrative, just so people are not focusing on the problems at hand. Jinan, you said something that really resonated with me with regards to there's no point in reaching people on the far left, the extremists, and at the same time you said something that is very important in saying going after the people in the middle should be the aim. And I totally agree with you with that, because the people in the middle actually are the ones that are closer to you. And guess what? They have the influence on the people on the left. They're closer to people on the left. So that's a very good strategy on your end. And at the same time, it's not worth not worth bringing negative energy. You know what I mean? And as you're talking, I felt the passion. I felt the anger. You know what I mean? Just thinking about that far left, and that's not healthy. That's not healthy for you to get to that point. So definitely focus on the people in the middle. And I want to bring it back to what we were talking about before with regards to the roots. Your roots. You guys' roots come into Canada. And you both said something that resonated with me so much in terms of the ethnic foods. You know, I remember moving to Canada, same thing. And in grade 1, my parents would give me some ethnic Ghanaian dishes, and I would, first of all, I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't eat it. I was embarrassed of the smell, and then I'd always keep it in my bag, and it'll be in my bag for days, literally days, until my parents found out. Eventually, they stopped giving me stuff to take to school because I was just embarrassed, right? But back in Palestine, like I want to give a real visual right now. Back in Palestine, you both of you were around people that looked like you. You're around people that like you were the majority, right? The people, everybody around you, all your friends looked the same as you. You had the same culture. You spoke the same. And then you move to Canada. You move to a country where there's not that many people that look like you, where you kind of stick out. You can't just blend in. And I know, Jinan, you said that you had an identity crisis, but I want you to dive in deeper to that. Like you had an identity crisis, but how did you navigate through that? How'd you navigate in terms of going to being in class, not being able to speak the same language? How'd you navigate in terms of having people that don't look like you and feeling out of place? How did you maneuver from one end to the other? So I'm really curious, because like same thing with you guys. I grew up in Ghana. I was born in Ghana, and for the first 4 years of my life, I never seen a white person in the physical until one day, and I was like, whoa, they actually exist. But then I come to Canada, and now like I'm like, there's nobody who looks like me, and I feel inferior to people. I feel like I'm below people. So how do you get from the point of being down here to being with them? Because there's a bunch of kids that are watching this that are new to the country, and they're struggling. They're struggling to fit in. They're struggling to feel like they have some power. So can you explain how you guys navigated from one end to the other?
For sure. First of all, I thought that straightening my hair would do it. So I feel like Izzy can relate to that. Straightening my hair, trying to blend in with the clothes I wore, trying to blend in with the terms I used, with the food that I brought to school. And I realized this is not sustainable. I cannot keep this going. And it clicked. I think just one day I sat there and it clicked, because I realized that if I continue on this path, I will never, ever, ever find my true identity and reach my full potential, because I'll be wearing this mask for the rest of my life. And I think having parents that are like, that keep reminding you of who you are, reminding you of your roots, your ancestors, where you come from, right? And then it clicked one day where I said, I'm doing this for Palestine. I literally took on that mindset of even the dumbest things, like a dodgeball game in gym class. I'm doing this for Palestine. Nobody else here is Palestinian. I'm winning this for Palestine, because my Palestinian childhood friends right now in Palestine are being killed. And I have this opportunity here to be playing dodgeball. So I'm doing this for Palestine. And I have this opportunity here for me to hide my ethnicity and where I come from. Hell no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. And I think it literally just took like I don't even know the moment that I realized, but I remember it clicking, and I realized that I am here for a reason. My parents didn't go through all of that, didn't go through immigration, way more than just immigration, for us to be here and for me to hide myself. And for the kids who are watching this, do not conform to society's norms. First of all, society's norms change. Every day, there's a new trend, new hairstyle that's in. People that have straight hair want curly hair. People that have curly hair want straight hair. People want certain, talents and skills, certain times. People will follow trends. Even human rights are becoming trends. You're cool, you're woke if you throw a hashtag once in a while based on what's trending on social media. So don't let the norms of society today dictate the person that you will become. So you can mold yourself into it.
Let's go. That's facts.
I mean, even gender norms change, things change. So you have to be fluid in the sense that you realize who you are, stay connected to your true self, where you come from, wear it proudly, because one day you're going to become a trend and you're going to be sitting there like, that's right, everybody wants to be me. So just realize that from the start. And it's hard for you to realize it when nobody says it to you. And that's why mentorship is so crucial. So crucial. If I had
bring it back. This is a good advertisement. Bring it back. Let's go.
And so that's why mentorship is so crucial, because if I had somebody when I was that young tell me, look, you're going to grow older and you're going to regret hiding your food. You're going to regret hiding where you're from. You're going to regret trying to ruin your hair. Just try to blend in a little bit. Then I would have probably listened, because I would see my older self telling me that. Mm-hmm. And so that comes back to the idea of the importance of mentorship, and for us to tell these children that don't know it yet, because they don't know it. They don't know that they're going to grow up and realize and look back on it and see that the effect that it might have, the negative effect it's going to have on their identity if they try to conform these to these societal norms and things that don't actually fit them, don't even fit their values and morals and beliefs, right? There are so many things that, you know, people were exposing and trying to throw at me that didn't even like, I didn't even believe in, right? So like even something as simple as gossiping, you know, all these people gossiping and talking about each other and all of that. And I knew my morals, the way my parents brought me up, I'm not supposed to gossip. But what do you do to blend in? You become part of the bull.
You join
You
in.
become part of the gossipers. And then you realize a few months later, you're like, wow, did I really just, you know, partake in that? And so like my advice is to just try to find like-minded people, find mentors who've been in your place, and try to listen to that before you put yourself in that position and then regret it. And you know, sometimes you're gonna have to just learn through going through it and making the mistakes and realizing for yourself, and that's okay too. But to go from one side to the other, it needs one moment of it clicking and realizing that I need to be proud of who I am, because I am the only person that can represent myself.
It's huge. I want to give a big disclaimer, because I know, like you guys said, young kids watching this, the story my sister just told sounds ambitious. It sounds like that person's amazing. I don't know how they could do that, but you got to put it in perspective. This is a story that took years of experience and learning to achieve. Like I did not really grasp my identity until I got to university. I came to Canada in grade 2. That's 10 plus years of me living with a identity crisis / no identity for who I am. This didn't happen overnight. And contrary to my sister, I had a very different experience. If you're watching this, you can probably tell me and my sister are very opposites. My sister is the more out there. She's very high energy. I'm more conserved. I'm an observer. I'm quiet. I'm more logistic. So it's very funny how we grew up to be very different. I guess we were trying to balance each other. But for me, I like a common theme here is sports. All I did in Palestine was play soccer on the concrete. Like I would slide on the concrete, have scars all over my knees. And when I got to Canada, that's all I knew. We played soccer. I didn't know any soccer players. I never watched soccer. I just played soccer. So what really got me through it at an early age was soccer, was sports. It was the recess time that I really looked forward to, was going outside, being that like skinny, like fast kid, jumping on the monkey bars like a monkey. It was all of that. And that doesn't mean your answer has to be sports either. Everybody has a passion that they love, and it doesn't have to be something creative, artistic, athletic, but it's something that you hold deep to you, and that really grounds you to who you are. And for me, that was sports. But coming to junior high, what really began this transition for me to think about my identity and start accepting it was the friends that I became with. I went to school named McTavish, and the irony of me saying this now, back then, it was called Browntown, because so many brown people lived in the uptown, newer regions of Eagle Ridge beside McTavish that they literally remarked the school as Browntown for its population in the school. However, it worked out great for me because I made so many friends of color that became like brothers to me. They were the friends I saw every day, the friends that I was in class, the friends I talked with, and seeing them be how they are, and seeing us within our circle being able to express ourselves freely without any judgment. I think that initially began the transition for me. And like Master said, you need to find, if you're watching this, you're starting at a young age, like you're getting a head start from our experiences of many years, but you do need to branch out. You need to find friends that are like-minded, that are similar. Even it doesn't matter what color they are, as long as you feel that you can express yourself without judgment. But a big thing that I want to put out there is every year those talent shows that we had at elementary school and junior high, and you always had that one brown individual doing their traditional dance. It typically was a group of girls, Indian girls, doing their dance. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but everybody in the audience would either laugh, or they would spread rumors, or they would talk about it negatively. And I'm just sitting there enjoying it, like being in a neutral stance. But growing up, I realized how much courage that took to go up representing your culture in your traditional clothing, showing up with your music that's very unorthodox, and just being the center stage for everyone to watch. Um, and that really empowers me now to see how those kids at a young age coming from those households to express themselves. And yeah, like my sister said great things, and I want to recap on some things that my sister said because I really want people to take this message and move forward. But it's, you can't conform. Like, as simple as it
Facts.
sounds, being a Palestinian now and being more true to my identity, I'm so proud of it. And I do want to note that if you look at society, immigrants and people of color are being idolized at the moment. And this was not the case many years ago.
Mhm.
But to put it bluntly, our culture, like white people, their lack of culture and their lack of areas are literally beginning to idolize us and our cultures and take away from it and try to be us. So why don't you be true to yourself first? And guess what? Everybody's gonna try to copy you in the end.
Facts. That's true. I totally agree with you guys. Like if you're not proud and love your culture, then who is? You know, it starts with you. And I could definitely agree with everything you both said in terms of like it's also about who you're around. You know, I remember myself when I was young. Um, I used to pretend like I didn't understand my language in school just because I was a little bit embarrassed. You know, I just felt like I didn't fit in. And like when my parents would come speak to me in my language or one of my uncles, I'll reply it in English or pretend like I don't hear. And so with that happening for the longest while, like I just would never speak English, and I'll never speak Tree, which is my language, and I'll kind of like blend in because I always like was able to blend in and pass for like a Caribbean person instead of like African person. This is another dynamic of me growing up. But just to get to the point, I remember in university, I had a roommate. His name is Quasi. He's from the same country as me. And every day this guy would speak to me in my language. And for like the first year, I would always reply back in English. English. Until one day, you know what? I loosened up. I started speaking to him in my language, and everything changed. Like the sense of pride just came, and we had fun with it. You know what I mean? Like we'll be randomly at a practice, just started speaking Tree to each other, and there was like a sense of pride. You know, we're bringing our culture to the practice, to the team, and it's huge. So it's a beautiful thing. So I definitely commend both of you on just being true to yourself and sharing your culture with the world. And shout out to everybody in high school and elementary school that's not afraid to embrace and share their culture at the multicultural events and all that stuff, because you all of you are the real winners, the real MVPs, and the real game changers. So we have 2 questions for this season that we like to end off with.
Hold on. Can I just interject on one thing, just because I gotta hit them with we always like to talk to the teachers real quick. I just want to touch on a quick point Madge said. You know how you were talking about how soccer was all you knew when you came to this country? And Kwame, you can probably like attest to this, being a physical education teacher, but sometimes me and Izzy, what we used to do is we used to go in the schools, we used to take kids out of class, and we used to have mentoring sessions. And a lot of those times it would be at recess, or a lot of those times we'd take them to the gym. And it was a form of punishment to not allow them to have recess. It was a form of punishment to not let them go to gym class. And what you just said about like that gave you a sense of purpose, that gave you a sense of who you were at that time, going through what you were going through. And I guess just this is my like tell the teachers and stuff, but you can't take that away from someone, because sometimes that was the only light that, like, there's a lot of kids who love math. I never saw a kid get punished and taken out of math class, like, oh, you can't do math today. Like, hell no. Why is it always got to be gym? You know what I'm saying? So I just want maybe everyone to understand that, yes, recess is fun. And for a lot of kids, it's just play, which is super important, but it's also a lot more than that for some kids. And I think it has to be treated as such. So thank you for bringing up that point, Madge, because that's something I always try to say, not just around recess or phys ed class, but also just sports in general. So thank you for that point.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
To empower your point, I still remember my grade 5 teacher. His name was Mr. Butt. And the reason I remember him is because with recess, every single, like almost every single class, he tried to have DPA, which was daily physical activity. And he's such a strong, like, I love that teacher. To this day, like I'm 21 almost, and I still know my grade 5 teacher because giving us that opportunity, and it was an amazing, one of the best years of my life because we got to go out, and I always enjoyed going to class. I was excited, just because he cared about us and he provided us opportunities that were bigger than just class and really spoke.
Shout out to Mr. Butt.
Your butt. Salute. All right. So back to our final question. We got 2 questions for each of you to answer. The first question, and we've been talking about you both when you were young, so we're going to stay on that theme from when you were young, when you were in either McTavish or Westwood or Trinity. What advice, speaking as the person you are today, what advice would you give to that version of yourself? And at the same time, let's say you were your own parent during those times, during your hard times, during the challenging times. As your own parent, what would you say to that person also? So as yourself right now and as your parent of then, give it to us.
Oh my gosh, that's a hard question.
You're killer. Don't worry. I know
We're not-
both of you guys answered that during an interview one time. Close enough. So
We're not throwing softballs here.
yeah, we're going deep, guys.
We go hard.
Yeah,
Let's go.
this is layered. There's so many layers to this because, like, Maj, please go ahead. Let me formulate an answer.
I actually have an immediate one for the parent. Like we mentioned in the beginning, we have younger siblings. And I love that I get to be an older brother to 3 beautiful, intelligent, amazing kids. And to be honest, I put myself in a parent position. They call me the sibling that always stressed out. They're like, you're strict. They like Meister more because they call me the strict one.
Maj, what they do on our Netflix account? So they renamed.
Oh my, yeah, my Netflix account name is the sibling who stresses out.
Mine is the sibling who pays because I always take them out for food.
Yeah, but a piece of advice I've recently given my siblings is the fact to be proud of who they are. I was on the phone and very similar to what you're saying about when you get a phone call, you pretend not to know your language. This is a known tale. I get a phone call from my parents. I speak English. My parents are like, "Oh, who are you around?" Now I speak Arabic. I'm proud of it. People are like, "Oh, what language is that? That's so cool. You can speak another language." But talking to my younger siblings, you know, they're in a school, a bunch of they don't know very many other people, especially online. They're secluded to themselves in their online environment. But my message to my sibling was, be proud of who you are, because to be honest, you're Palestinian and we're becoming extinct. We're dying out. There's not many true Palestinians left that hold their heritage and have their traditions, just as Indigenous people within Canada are losing their culture and traditions. And I told my siblings, you guys not only represent yourselves and your family, but you guys represent our culture. You guys represent Palestine. When you guys go out there, the extra things you guys do, the science fair, the way that you guys act and be with friends, you guys are representing yourselves, but your culture as well. And it's rare to have this culture, so you guys need to be proud of who you are. I was really like you guys need to go shout it at the top of your lungs, be like, I'm Palestinian, what's up? This is my culture. This is a PowerPoint of who I am. This is my family. And I really want to resonate that with my siblings, because I was reminded of how the future of us with what's going on is it's insane. And people who are ignorant to what is going on, but try to stand up for different issues, modern day issues, like Indigenous people or Black Lives Matter. It's insane how you can only pick and choose what you want to stand up for.
Yeah, just to add on to that last point, everything going on in the world is so intertwined. And I think white supremacy and colonization has done a great job at dividing us and making us believe that our causes are separate, because they fear the day that we all realize, hey, we're fighting, we're resisting the same thing. And as soon as all these movements come together and we resist as one, united, they stand no chance. So they try to separate us and make us think that our struggles are mutually exclusive, and that, you know, BLM is not related at all to what's happening in Palestine, or what's happening in Palestine is not related at all to the ethnic cleansing and genocide of Indigenous people here. And that is false. When we dismantle the system, we will all be liberated. And so I think we just need to be united and fight it as one. And we need to stop putting divides and barriers for ourselves when they've already done that for us. I just want to touch on that point at the end. But what would I tell my younger self? You know, to be honest with you, I'm proud of my younger self for the way I navigated through things, the way that I stuck to my identity, and the way that I use sports to kind of build an identity for myself in that world as well, which helped me you know, find different opportunities. So playing varsity basketball and winning that national championship gave me more of a sense of pride. My parents were sitting in the stands and they're like, because before then they were like, no, we want you to focus on school. Just focus on school, because you're going to get a good job and then you're going to be set. Because our parents have been in survival mode their whole lives, right? Just get a good job, do great in school, and you're set. And I was like, no, I want to go play basketball. So I'm stubborn. So I was like, no, I want to go play basketball. I got the scholarship, I'm going to play. And it took them a whole year until they saw us win nationals, where they they stood up and they're like, I see why now. And so, you know, I'm not saying defy your parents with what they want. You need to acknowledge their experience. You need to acknowledge where they're coming from. But at the same time, our generation has a different outlook as well. So looking back now at my younger self, I would tell myself to, you know, continue being resilient, in the sense that when people came to you and tried to tell you that your country doesn't exist and you went looking for it on the map, you don't need to go look for it on the map. You know it exists. You live there. And so why would you let somebody else's perspective cloud yours and cloud your identity? You know, I honestly don't have a lot, because when I look back, I am quite proud of the way that my brother and I navigated through these challenges. And a big part of that for us personally was sports, was being a part of a team, was teaching our teammates about it, was using sport to elevate our voices, to do more in the community, to bring people together. And so, you know, find that thing. It doesn't matter what it is. Find that thing, stick to it, focus on it, use it to elevate yourself, use it to elevate the voices of everybody else who is in that same position, and you will be fine. And trust the process. Trust the process. Don't be discouraged when you are being hit with barriers and obstacles. That's only going to teach you how to get over those things, how to overcome those things, how to, you know, build armor so that when it comes again, it's like when you get a vaccine, when you're exposed to something like that again, you know how to fight it. Your immune system is stronger now. And so don't shy away from challenges. Don't shy away from, you know, the negative narratives that are being, you know, built around you. Challenge that, question it, you know, and get salt as well. Because at the end of the day, you know yourself better. You know, people know themselves. I think we know ourselves, but we let others drown our thoughts of who we are. We let others kind of, you know, quiet us down. And so I have a voice in my head saying, you know, what you want, you know what you want to do, you know what direction you need to take. And then as soon as we go and take everybody else's opinion and put it above ours, that's when you lose yourself. That's when you start to second guess yourself, because you want to fulfill the ought self. And what's the ought self? The idea of what you think others want you to become, the idea of what you think others need you to become, instead of, you know, fulfilling your actual self and your true potential and what you really know inside of you is what you need to do.
Facts.
She cooked up that answer. Okay.
Yeah, she killed it. Madge and Jinan, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. Thank you for raising awareness with what's going on back home. And I really hope that everybody that's watching, whether you're on the right, the middle, the left, that you gain some empathy to what's going on and understand that we are all way more similar than we are different. And we need unity. On that note, Dylan, take him with the outro.
Jinan, Madge, thank you so much for coming. Let's see if I can get the intro. Oh no, the outro. Let's see if I can't even say it right. No, I really appreciate you guys. I love that basketball story you told. That's, I think, just exactly what we're trying to do right here. Like between me, Kwame, and Izzy, we got how many years of experience in the field, and it still takes you guys to hit us with something to be like, yes, that was what we needed. Didn't think of that, always learning. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember, this is just our perspective on mentoring. What's yours? See you next week.
Thanks, guys. You guys.
Thank you so much.
I always enjoy talking to you two. Always
No,
a
that was
reminder of
great.
pride.
That was fun, eh?
That was really
dope.
fun.
That was dope. Really good job.